Hello and thanks for checking out ChartGuys.com. We're proud to be one of the most successful technical analysis communities online, teaching you the skills to become a more confident, effective, and informed trader. Join our community of hundreds of analysts worldwide working together to learn the charts, generate profit, and achieve financial independence. For access to daily live chart analysis and market coverage, a thriving chat community, along with dozens of hours of exclusive educational materials. We look forward to seeing you. Let's check out some charts. Hey everyone, checking in on the marijuana sector. So yesterday's thumbnail said it could be worse, and today it got worse. S&P 500 right now is definitely in free fall, and it's making people wonder, is this going to be a V-shaped recovery like 2018? Or are we shaping up to see something along the lines of 2008? So always keeping our eyes on the broader markets, which are the driving force right now. SPY is down more than 1% from where we closed at the end of the day today. And we are seeing the MJ sector reflecting that a little bit. They're down as well. So SPY has, or I should say CGC, has lost its weekly uptrend. As far as I'm concerned, this is a high, higher low, lower high, lower low. We're now looking down at 1848, which broke. So the only real support levels are limited. 1782, the low of today, 1761, and then a lack of support until we get back to 1381. Again, the sector will bounce and have follow through when the S&P 500 does, but the S&P 500 2 days in a row, morning bounces, hourly lower highs, end of the day drop to lower lows, no bull follow through. Same thing for MJ. Nice solid bounce, big gains there, got to be quick with them. Over 5%, more like 7%, gave it back. So just an hourly lower high, now set at 1945. Cron stood out today. Most notable thing, no earnings yet, but the most notable thing for me today was the dip buying in Cron. Again, the lowest price that we've seen on this entire consolidation, but we bounced from that low 541 and we ended up going very significantly. And you can see we have much more space to form an hourly higher low. Just comparing it to CGC with where we are trading right now, we have 30 cents to work with, which is just under 2%. Cron could pull back 10% and still form an hourly higher low. Keep an eye on Cron for when the market bounces because it's positioned better than its peers right now. ACB dropped to a lower low. Again, lowest price on the entire period of consolidation. Hourly time frame. Anything under 153 is just a lower high. Bulls have to hold the low of today, break the high of today, tomorrow, to change the hourly trend. APHA, base of support in the 370s broke. Again, lowest price we've seen on this entire period of consolidation. In free fall a bit due to the lack of any previous price history and the bears keeping their complete control. Bulls have to hold 344 and break 377 to change this hourly trend. Again, an aggressive bull cares about the hourly trend change. A patient bull looks at it and says, great, we're just going to form a daily lower high on that bounce. Unless there's a massive news catalyst, that's the most likely scenario. So there's no rush. Patience is the game. TLRY, $15 broke, a new all-time low. Bears in complete control. Hourly lower high resistance. Hexo, 122 broke. Every single name that we've looked at right now, aside from CGC, is hitting long-term lower lows. OGI is not. OGI still has plenty of space above 218. It's standing out for that reason. We're at a point right now where the sector is so weak that any name that's not dropping to the lowest price in many months is standing out as the stronger names. So OGI and CGC have that going for them. VFF, lowest price in a long time. No support nearby. Hourly downtrend is our guide. And again, the previous price levels at this point go out the window for importance. The importance of the S&P 500 bounce is much more significant. LABS also still holding support of 247, although just barely. VLNS continues to dump significantly from its earnings report, giving back a ton of its move. 285 broke. We're now looking at 260, which is the lowest price in many months of consolidation. Big bounce off the low, just an hourly lower high. Have to hold the low of the day and break 330 tomorrow to change that hourly trend. IIPR also holding up better. Technically, you could say we're still in a daily uptrend. Anything above 91.09, or make that 90.76. Held on well to start today. Gave a lot of it back. That's a 7+% drop from the high of the day in under 2 hours. But weekly time frame still looks just fine overall. Curaleaf, free fall. So we're now looking back to 593. Low of today, 587. That broke. Lowest price in many months on this pullback. IAN, heart goes out to any holders of IAN. It's a shame to see happen, but free fall, huge gap down flush. Yes, it was a nice bounce, but it didn't do anything to change the hourly trend at this point. We dropped down to 103. We bounced to 124. It's a 20% bounce, but the dump at this point is just brutal. And you have to keep in mind that in this sector, there are bag holders at all levels. That's why it's so hard for charts to work through previous price history when in a long-term downtrend, because every time you get to a level, it's another round of bag holders who might be trying to exit break even if they get a shot at it. CL dropped to a lower low, but bulls did buy some of that dip. Hourly time frame has to change the trend. An hourly higher low form the second half of the day. That's different than most names. 589 has to hold and break 638 to change the hourly trend. Again, then we just zoom out and look for the daily lower high. GTII also dropping to lower lows. Volume slowly increasing each day. Next support level, 842. HARV, bulls bought the dip here as well, 267. Still trying to hold. Nice end of the day strength. So HARV standing out for more buying pressure throughout the entirety of the day than most names. And that double bottom probably has something to do with it by 1 penny. And CWeb dropping to the all-time low. Lower high every single day on CWeb for the last 8 days in a row. Hourly downtrend is our guide. So I've been using the hourly downtrend as the guide for the S&P 500 for days, and it's kept me from getting too confident in any bounces, because every morning we've bounced the last 2 days. We know it's just an hourly lower high. We know the bulls still have more proving to do, and they have been unable to prove anything. So the sector, I anticipate solid percentage bounces across the board when the S&P 500 starts its daily bounce. But there could be some more downside. You got to think psychologically. Okay, the market is concerned about any headlines of increased cases in the US. Who's going to hold over the weekend knowing that those headlines have risk of coming out? What is the probability of a bullish headline, whether it is cures or vaccines, versus bearish headlines, whether it's 500 people now under observation in Boston, or whatever the headline could be? So remain patient. Again, there's no need to nail the bottom. If you want to be really aggressive, you're trying to nail the bottom. Otherwise, you're waiting for an hourly trend change. Even that's aggressive as a bull. Otherwise, you're waiting for daily trend change setups, which aren't going to happen anytime soon. What we would have to see, if we're going to see a daily trend change setup, we change the hourly trends. We see names bounce 10% plus to create space for a daily higher low to form once we top out. But a daily trend change is going to take a week plus to develop, and it hasn't even started. Hope you're well. We all have to learn lessons. I know there's a lot of bag holders out there. I held a penny stock that I made a lot of money on back when I was traveling around. I think it went 700%, and I gave it all back. And I will never ever do that again. And as long as you walk away from this experience, never ever doing that again, you can learn from it. See you next time. Have a good Friday. So this is a greenhouse my buddy helped put up. Nice little 20-footer overlooking the second little pond. And I'll start some stuff in here And eventually I'll move these tables out and just grow tomatoes in pots. I always have trouble with tomatoes in North Carolina due to blight, which is a fungus that splashes up on the leaves from the soil. So when they're in pots, they're elevated above the soil and much more protected. I did the pots last year on the deck and they turned out really well. So I think I'll stick 8 in here in big pots, and I can trellis them from these wires up here, and I'll put peppers in little pots in front of them. And the tomatoes and nightshades like it nice and hot. I've got this little thermometer that tracks to my phone and gives me all these charts as far as fluctuations of temperature and relative humidity. So looking forward to playing around with this space. Probably grow some greens in here in the winter as well. Did a little bit of weeding. The onions and garlic, still a little bit more to go, but you can see all the elephant garlic poking up and the smaller garlic as well. It's spring. Looking forward to plugging all these holes on the edges of these beds. I can put a whole bunch of pollinator flowers here, or even just vegetables. My goal is to have as many living things on the property as possible, so I'm going to grow twice as much as I need of everything and just throw random tomato plants around and other things for the animals to enjoy, as long as they leave my half alone. A little more prepping with a whole bunch of dried beans and lentils and rice. Can't be too careful.